Hey, everybody. Welcome to our podcast. We're privileged to explore today through the lived experience of a centenarian, a human who has literally been walking the earth for a full 100 years, which is, of course, rare. It's really unique and just an amazing privilege to be able to talk to her today. Her name is Edith Kultein, and we are at Edith's home recording today. Edith is a retired language teacher and translator whose accomplishments include translating for Radio France and working as a secretary for the Minister of General de Gaulle of France during World War II. Edith still teaches French to a private student, is learning Spanish, is in a French club, a book club, and can be seen power walking around her neighborhood with her walker she started using at age 98. I consider Edith to be a good friend. She's my neighbor, and I'm just really proud to share her voice with all of you today. Well, Edith, it's a pleasure to have you here, and it's an honor to talk to you, and we just can't wait to hear more about your life.
With pleasure. I'm always happy to talk about what happened in my life.
Okay then, Edie, let's get to the questions for you, because you have been around 100 years, which is amazing. The decade you were born, there were still silent movies. And the year you were born in America, they invented frozen food. And the decade, as I said before, not only the silent movies, but television was then invented in the decade that you were born. So look around us today. What have we gone to in this encapsulation of your life in the most extraordinary change? Extraordinary. So where do we start? I think what I'm going to do is start by asking you, what were the best of times in your life?
The best of times were when I arrived in the United States in 1946, after the Second World War, and I married the man that I had met during the war in North Africa. He was a soldier, an American soldier, and we met at a party, at a Thanksgiving party. And we French people didn't know what Thanksgiving meant. But another person said to my father and mother, "Can I take her?" By then I was 19, maybe 19 and a half. "Can I take your daughter to a party? We have a party in the big building where all the soldiers that work with computers live, and they're making this party, and I would like to take your daughter." My parents don't always said yes, but since it was a nice man, they said yes. So I arrived at the party. Would you like me to tell you what happened?
I would think so, but I need to have you back up just a fraction.
Yes.
You were in North Africa?
Yes.
Okay.
You see,
so we need a little explanation on how you got there.
Okay, I will start at the beginning.
Okay.
Okay? I was born in an area in France that is close to Germany. It touches Germany. It's called Alsace. Alsace and Lorraine, you know.
They have very famous wines in Alsace.
Oh, yes. Very good wine, yes. And so I was born there, but my father worked in Paris. And so we all lived, since I was a tiny little girl, I lived in Paris until I was 15. Then the war broke out in 1940. And we know what happened. I don't have to say much, but many things happened at the beginning.
Yes.
And we wondered what's happening. And my father could speak German, and we all were aware. I am Jewish, so we were aware of what was going to happen. And so,
yes, excuse me, I'll just ask you there. So at that time, you knew that the Jews were not in favor in Germany.
My father.
Your father knew, okay.
Because he could speak German, he could read German, he read the papers in French and German. He knew
what
very
was
well. My father was director of a foundry, a metal foundry. And because of that, he was aware of everything that was going on.
Now, you were French nationality, though. You were not
yes.
German.
Yes.
No, you were French.
No German.
Yes, okay.
Before the First World War,
yes,
of course. my father was German because everything was German at that time in Alsace. But after the First World War, everything changed. and yes, and all of Alsace and Lorraine became French, and we were all so happy.
Yes, I bet.
Of course, I wasn't born then, but everybody was happy. Oh, we're French again.
Wonderful. Yes.
Yes. And your father was a talented man.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yes, because he had to take care of a big foundry near Paris, and I don't know the details of what he was doing. He did a lot during the war. He got the Legion of Honor because of all he did for the business that didn't belong to him. He was just a director, see. In fact, he lost his job at the beginning of war. The owner said, Jacques, I cannot keep you. You're Jewish. We have to put somebody who is not Jewish in the business. Yeah. So my father knew we had to leave Paris.
Yeah. Right. That's what I was going to say. He understood the situation because a lot of Jews stayed and hoped for the best.
Yes.
And he didn't.
But
he understood.
Oh, he knew. He knew exactly, yes. Yeah. He read everything in German, as I say. He knew what was going on. And then the Nazis started coming into France. Little by little by little, they entered. And so my father says, we are going to take the car. We leave everything, just take what is necessary. And we are going to go south of France, which is a little further from where the Nazis were. So we went, the four of us, with my brother, mother, and father, and I. We took the car and went slowly every day because there were many people on the road doing the same thing. Many, even we were so lucky to have a car because we saw so many people on the side walking, poor people, country people. It was really sad when we saw that, And then at night we went to a hotel, but sometimes there were no hotels. Everybody went to hotels, So we slept in the car sometimes. I was 15, my brother was 18, my parents were still relatively young, so it was okay. So we arrived south, and then we stayed in a little village, and we found on the second floor of a house, we found an apartment, and we stayed there for 2-3 months until my father started thinking, what are we going to really do? It doesn't happen so fast, And it was summertime. So my father brought a typewriter and a book, and he says, now you're going to learn to type because eventually you're going to need to know how to type. I was busy doing that. And we didn't tell the people who belonged to the house that we were Jewish. Never did we ever say anything. In fact, on our big day called Yom Kippur, when you're not supposed to eat, my father said to my mother, go downstairs and make believe we're going on a picnic. And so she took, we went with the car in the wilderness, and we threw all the food for the animals.
Wow, you had to be so careful.
And my father had the books, and he prayed. We were not terribly. My father he liked to pray. He liked to pray. My mother and I, not so much. My brother neither. But that's the way it was. Yes. And so my father thought, school is going to start. My brother was finished with school, but I wasn't. So I had to go someplace. There was no school for me in that little village. So I had to go to a main city, I don't know how many miles away. I had to stay for about 2 months in the big city in a school where you could live and eat and be in school. After 2 months, my father, the whole family came to get me and said, we're leaving. It's time to leave. We can't stay anymore. So we went to Marseille, where we got a plane, and we came to Algiers. My father had called up and to make sure we had a place to live in Algiers when we arrived. Algiers is beautiful when you arrive with a plane. You really think, oh, you're going to a lovely place. Well, you arrive by plane and you're surrounded by little kids, little Arab kids, who unfortunately were poor and were there for us to give them money, and they had problems in their eyes, and so it was sad, especially for a typical Parisian arriving there with her little dress, and So anyway, Algiers, the time in Algiers, we stayed 5 years in Algiers during the whole war. So we arrived in a beautiful place, a house up in the hills. And we were so happy. We have a nice house, there's a little garden, and there's a pharmacy close by. We thought it's perfect. Oh, it was summertime again, And so I had time before I went back to school. And my father, no job, and he has to work. So he did find a work in the wine business. He had, Frenchman, Alsatian. He had an idea about wine. So he worked for 5 years in the wine business. And
so the climate must have been conducive to growing wine there, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
It was fine. And then I finished school, and believe it or not, the school that I went to was a beautiful area that belonged to a sheikh of Arabi.
Arabi.
Wow.
Yeah, beautiful. And so I had 2 more years to go for the baccalaureate. I was lovely. You just sit in the sun when you have time for lunch and so on.
That sounds great.
But the girls from Algiers always used to say, oh, you refugees, you come and you eat our bread, because we didn't have a lot of food, I have to say. We just had what's necessary, but no more. So after several months, I forget how many months, the owner of the house tells us, sorry, you have to leave because we have family coming from Europe and they want to stay in the house. You have to find something else. So again, you take everything and you leave, and we found an apartment in town. So we stayed for, I think, about a year, and the war broke out and we had bombs and everything. And so during the night, we would prepare everything to go in the basement when we heard bombs, We just had everything ready to go down on a chair, and we went in the basement. In the basement, there were many people we didn't know. Nobody talked. We didn't say, oh, it's terrible, or I'm afraid, or anything, because you never knew who the neighbor was. You never knew what they thought. Maybe they were anti-American or pro-German. You didn't know. So it was hard. It was hard to do that,
What part of Algiers was this?
French. Algiers was completely French. And I did my baccalaureate, and then I said to my father, I'm 19. I can do some work and bring in some money. My daughter will never work. So I said, but I insisted so. He took me to a bank and said to the lady, my daughter would like to be a type and so on. So she says, why don't you type something for me? My typing was very slow. She says, why don't you go home and continue learning to type faster and come back? I was humiliated. My daddy was with me, and I just was terrible. It was awful. So I left, but just going back a little bit, when I was out of school, since I didn't get the job, I told my father, I'm going by myself to find a job. You don't have to come with me. And I found a wonderful job in Algiers called Radio France. In other words, they were sending messages to the people in France. Not too many because it was the wartime. But the man who was the boss was the husband of my English teacher in high school.
Oh, wow.
So he was so kind. And
Yeah.
I looked like I was 16, even though I was older. I always looked a little younger. And so he said, I'm going to teach you to be a good secretary. So it took time for the shorthands and for all that. And I learned a lot. And then who came in Algiers? General de Gaulle came from France to England and came around with his government, a small government at that time, and settled in Algiers. So my boss said, Edith, I really would like to work for de Gaulle. So I said, oh, okay, try to find me a job also. So he did find a job. I was first a typist. By then I knew how to do everything, So, and I became a secretary for one of the ministers of de Gaulle, at the time.
That's cool.
Yeah. And so for 2 years I worked. And then later I became a translator from English to French, French to English, because I learned very well in school. I had a good teacher and pen pal.
Yes.
And so I really could speak English. And my father would sometimes, well, I didn't tell you yet that the Americans arrived at the same time.
As de Gaulle.
Almost the same time, yes. They came, they settled in Algiers. There was a very modern building in Algiers, and they requisitioned the building for their men who didn't go to war.
Right.
They had to work on all kinds of things with the typewriter and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so my father would ask once in a while when he saw an American in his business, or I don't remember how, but he asked, would you like to come for lunch at our house? And they always so pleased because, they're homesick. And so they would come one at a time, and my mother would prepare lunch, give my father and me a chance to speak English. And so our English got better. And he did that for quite a while. Not always the same man, a different man. And then, the day of Thanksgiving, this man happened to be from St. Louis, Missouri. And he had 4 kids, so my parents felt he's okay. So he took me to this place, and there was a party with so much food. Americans had always so much, and we had just the minimum. And so I sat down and talked to my neighbors, and I was too shy to go with a plate and help myself. And suddenly a young soldier comes to me, and he said, with a plate, and he said, can I help you? I said, you haven't taken anything. I said, yes. Guess what? This was my husband. We started talking. He couldn't speak French, but he could speak German, and I could speak English. So we became friends. And he was working in that building as a meteorologist. And every once in a while he would go to the Sahara, the desert, which was close by, and he would work with balloons for the Air Force. See,
Fascinating.
Several of them would go there, and so he learned to see how the Muslims lived, and he was invited for weddings and things like this.
So really immersed into the culture.
In fact, I have pictures of many of those things
that
he brought back, of course.
Yes.
And so my family, my family always said, don't go walk around with these Americans. Your reputation will be bad, you know. So,
you know the old adage of nylons and chocolates, right? The Americans used to give them out because they did that in Britain, where I grew up.
yes,
They used to give out the stockings and the chocolates
no,
to curry the favour of the young ladies.
yes. Well, that didn't happen to me. He gave me food.
Oh, okay. Well, that was good too.
and he would wait at my house, and we would go to the market, and he would carry my stuff.
Yes.
Your groceries.
So we became so good friends, and we stayed in the house for lunch, dinner. My family liked him because he was smart, and he knew how to talk about history. He knew everything about European history, and my father loved to listen to it. He was a professor before he was a professor.
Ah, that's great. But so did you have a feeling as your friendship grew that this was going to turn into a marriage or into something?
Well, no, my parents always said, be careful, don't, until after the war, we don't do anything. So, no, they accepted him as a friend.
Right.
We were just friends. We couldn't,
you didn't think romantically about him, dream about him at night and things.
Oh, we did, but we didn't do anything about it. But we finally got engaged. And my father said, no, we can't do anything until after the war. So the war ended in 1945, okay? So we had 2 years together, 2 years to know each other.
Yeah,
that's nice, yeah.
And then the war is over, and the Americans want to go home, but there are not enough planes. So they send them to Egypt. All these soldiers there were 100 maybe, they all sent to Egypt. And David had a chance to see Egypt. And from Egypt, they were sent home.
Okay.
And I have all the pictures and everything that he took during the time he was there.
Yeah.
But it was really hard for them to wait until they got home. Those poor soldiers.
I bet. Well, what an interesting time.
And I cried hard.
I bet you did.
He kept little things to give my mother. And told my mother, Mom, in Alsatian we call her mother, Mamele. So he used to say, Mamele, give Edith every day something, some dumb thing that I have in my bag, just so that she remembers me.
Oh, that's so sweet.
It was very sweet.
It was probably smart too, huh?
Yes.
You're a beautiful young woman, and now he wasn't around.
So he left he wrote to me every day. I have all his letters.
He fell in love with you.
Oh, completely. And
before he left there.
And he was from St. Louis, Missouri. I will tell you something interesting. My mother was born in Germany at the frontier. My father was born in France, on the other side of the frontier. And my mother had a German family who left, of course, in 1938 when Hitler started his business. The family left, came to Paris to see us, and then came to America. When they arrived in New York, they don't know where to go. They're refugees. And they are told, St. Louis, Missouri is a wonderful little town. There are quite a few Jewish people there, but you'll be happy. So where do they go? St. Louis, Missouri. And my in-laws lived in St. Louis, Missouri. But where? On the same street, across the street.
Oh, you're kidding.
Oh, what
the
a
family
coincidence.
was here, and the family that are married was here.
Oh, that's crazy.
Which means, and my parents had written a letter to the family saying, please go across the street and see what kind of family it is, because there's young men wanted. So anyway, we got very They got very close before I even arrived.
My goodness. So how did it evolve then? Did you went to St. Louis? So he got back home, and then what happened?
He got back home and went back to school because he wasn't finished with his master's degree. And so he went back, he was home, and he started a job with the government. We in Paris, my family went back to Paris, and we couldn't find a place to live. So an old uncle of ours was a tailor, and he had a nice big old apartment. He said, you take the apartment and rent a room for me close by. And this way you have some place to live until you get
going again.
Exactly, you go again. Yeah. And so, my father had to find, with my brother, they opened a new business in the iron business, which they knew very well. My father knew very well. So I was their typist and so on. And waiting for a plane, there were not enough planes to go to America. So we had to take a ship, an old French ship. My mother and I took the ship. I went to America 7 months after David and I separated. 7 months. So that love lasted a long time.
Yeah, that's a long 7 months when you're young like that.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So we arrived in New York, and my mother had an old friend who had lived in New York for several years from Germany. And so he let us stay with him because David was working. He couldn't come to New York as soon as we arrived. And so the first day in New York, I got some ice cream because, I didn't even know what ice cream was.
Absolutely.
You'd never had it before?
No. Wartime, we didn't have any sweet stuff or anything. So anyway, my teeth have suffered from that because there were no vitamin C.
From the war.
Yeah, as a child,
So
you couldn't do anything. So
the target was the happiest of times. So that was obviously a very, very happy time, even though the world was at war. But you found the love of your life, and you came to America and married him, right?
Yes, a month later, because it was a Jewish religious time, so we could get married 3 weeks. Then we had a small wedding. But it was lovely. Yeah, I have pictures I can show you. But I didn't want to just sit home. I told David, I want to do something. So I found a job as a typist. That's all I could do, After all, my English was good, but not good enough to get a real big job in America. So I did not, at that time, I did not go to college. But after I got married, we stayed in St. Louis 4 years, and David's professors told him, David, we can't teach you anything more. You know as much as we do. You better go to Princeton or Harvard or someplace better. So we wrote to everybody, and he got accepted to Harvard.
He was a smart boy.
He was.
Yes. And so he did that. And at night, I would work, also secretary. And I would work. And during the evening, when he was studying, I would go and I would take classes, college classes. And then I went for several years at night.
But it must have been a massive culture shock. I mean, okay, you lived in Algiers, but that was still under French influence. And you were growing up in France and Arabic. Yes, of course. And then you come to America, where it's a young land, comparatively speaking, to where your experience had been. So what was the main thing you noticed in the difference in culture?
Okay, it is very difficult to answer that, because there was so much that I learned from the beginning. I had a wonderful sister-in-law who helped me very much. She's still alive, unfortunately. She lost her mind. She's as old as I am. But she helped me so much. She took me here, she took me there, and explained everything. The family was wonderful with me. The mother-in-law was deaf, but she could read lips. And she knew everything about the newspapers of France. She read whatever. She was intelligent, like her son.
Yeah.
And so I learned so much. I can't tell you, but I remained Edith. I remained Edith, and I was a little girl still. Believe me, I used to dance around, sing around. I'm still like this.
You basically seem to be a very happy
a happy person.
You're just basically happy.
Yes, exactly, because everything turned out okay. My brother became a soldier, a French soldier. He went through France to Germany. Nothing happened to him. So everything happened to be good for us, family, And so my language was enough to get along when I arrived.
Which is good, very good.
Very
yes.
good.
So you weren't viewed as a foreigner so much.
Yes.
Yes.
You know what surprised me a lot? The day we went to get married, all they asked us, they knew I was French. I thought, they're going to ask several questions because I'm a foreigner. You know what they asked? Are you cousins? Because in St. Louis it was against the law. Cousins could not get married.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
all they asked me.
Are you cousins?
I said, that was the big surprise for me. And I still remember that.
Right, yeah.
I told David, I can't understand. I thought they were going to ask me 10 questions and things like this. Not anything.
So what happened when you moved, when you joined Harvard?
So when we arrived at Harvard, he was a student. We found an apartment with another couple, by the way, who spoke French too. So we became very close friends. And the apartment was very nice, in a nice building. And he went to study, and I found a job, secretary, because by then I knew what to do, And there was a village next to Harvard, Cambridge. Cambridge is the main town where Harvard is. But next to it, there's another village, and you could not tell that your husband was a student at Harvard because they hated everything that had to do with Harvard, because it was a village of poor people and people who worked hard and so on. And of course, the students at Harvard are the kids who had a little money or they were smart, and so they did. So I never told anybody of it. In my job, I never talked about it.
You're very adaptable. Yeah.
Well, I learned.
Yeah.
You learn
the war.
With life,
absolutely.
you learn.
Yeah. You learn not to speak too quickly to people, I'm sure, through that experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You were always careful. Not when I came to America, Dave taught me where to go, and we went to drugstores where you sat and you ate ice cream, and you had, at that time, they had little places for people to sit, at drugstores. And you prepared drinks with
the fountain drinks.
Fountain,
Yeah.
A fountain. This was all new to me.
Of course.
So Dave took me to everything so I would learn to.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Wow. Fun.
Yeah.
It was probably very fun.
Yeah.
It wasn't fun because it was hard. He worked hard at Harvard, and I was his typist when he needed to. And then we lived in a place where another couple, the husband was also at Harvard, and he needed somebody to type things. And so, of course, I did his typing too. So it was a hard time.
Yeah.
Hard time. And then
I was thinking it was fun at the fountain. It was fun
at the fountain.
Yeah.
Yes.
He took you there for treats.
Yes, it was so cute to be there. I forgot to tell you that we got married, and I just couldn't have children for some reason. For 11 years, I couldn't have children. You know, we were married, happy, and so on. We couldn't understand that. I went to doctors, and they gave me shots here and shots there. Nothing helped until we got to Boston and Cambridge, when the people at Harvard knew specialists. And I went to a specialist, and he found out what was wrong, and I had an operation. I was able to have a child after 2 years. And by then, my husband had 2 jobs. The first job was at Amherst College, and we could only stay 2 years there because he was not a full professor. He was just, in his first years. Then I learned German there, and the professor of French asked me, because I was French, he says, "Can you come and help me? I'll pay you, of course." So I said, "Yes, it's fun. I would like to." So once a week, the students would sit at a table at lunch, and we would speak French.
So that started your teaching career.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And you're still doing that today.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really? Today?
Yeah,
Yes.
she's still teaching French.
Oh, yes, I have 2 people.
Really?
2 men.
Do you go anywhere, or do they come
No,
to you?
they come to me. I want to just go back a little bit when we were in Boston. My husband had the first job. Then the second job, after 2 years there, the second job, my daughter was born there.
Yeah,
But we lived in another town where my husband was a professor and Debbie was a tiny baby. It was very nice, but my husband didn't like it because the students love football. It's a university. And my husband, being such a historian and serious in everything he did, he says, "I can't stay here. Those kids don't want to learn about European history."
They want to learn about football.
And he says, "I have to find another job." And it was very difficult for a professor after the war to find good jobs.
Really?
He would have liked Stanford. No, he found San Jose State.
Oh,
So it was very good for my husband.
Yeah.
So we arrived here in San Jose, and Debbie was by then 4 or 5 years old, and she went to school, and
she was an American child.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and I became very Americanized very quickly.
So what year was this that around?
So on 58, we arrived at San Jose, and my husband was happy. We were happy there.
Yeah.
We had a little house in San Jose, and Debbie was happy. And one day, Debbie comes home from school. She went to school. She could walk to school. She comes home to school. She said, "President died. They sent us home." Can you imagine sending kids home not knowing if the parents were home or not?
Really?
I happened to be home.
Oh my goodness, there'd be an outcry today if that happened. Oh my goodness.
I was really upset. But anyway,
It worked out. Yeah.
It worked out. It did. And so anyway.
So you lived through that whole shooting
then I
of
found
Kennedy.
a job. I found a job as a French teacher
Oh, cool.
in Saratoga.
Oh,
We stayed a little bit in San Jose. Then we found a place in Saratoga. And Debbie went to school there. And I found a job teaching French for 27 years.
Whoa.
It was a private school, an Episcopal school called St. Andrews, right there on Saratoga Avenue. And so it was perfect for us.
And she's 27 years. That's a long time.
I know.
That's wonderful.
But then my husband died, unfortunately, when Debbie was 16. He died, and it's a good thing I had that school.
Yes.
They were such good people. They were warm towards me and so on. The families of the students, everybody was so good to me. Yeah, he died at 56 of cancer.
Yeah. So that was the dark time.
It was very
Yes.
hard, yes, for both of us. Debbie, that was the year Debbie was graduating, and she went to college to Berkeley. So she went to Berkeley and finished the 4 years, and I continued working at St. Andrews. So life was okay.
And
But
Debbie
then I
is
sold the house in Saratoga and went to a smaller house, which was in Carroll, just enough for the two of us. And would you believe it? But my grandson lived in it when he was through school. He lived in my house when I lived here.
Oh, goodness sake.
Oh, wow. You're in
Wow.
Santa Cruz and he's living in your house going to school.
Yes, but he
In
was finished
Campbell,
after school. He stayed there and worked. My grandson is quite interesting. He worked for the Sharks for 4 years. Then the Blue Jackets called him and said, "We need somebody like you." I guess they heard about him, what he was doing. He didn't play. He worked in the office.
Right.
So he went to, and now he's with the Blue Jackets.
This is sports.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
So my goodness, it's wonderful. You're almost like touched by quite a lot of luck through your life, I think. Because you headed in the right directions at the right times, It sounds really quite a blessed life.
I was very lucky.
Yes.
Very
yes.
lucky.
I mean, it was very sad to lose your love, but life went on, right?
Life went on, and both Debbie and I were very, very strong.
Yeah,
about
you have a
everything.
very beautiful daughter, and you have a wonderful relationship with her, and she and her daughter Amy threw you a beautiful 100th birthday party at Chaminade, and they recreated a Paris cafe,
Oh, how lovely!
and complete with the musicians dressed
Yeah.
up as
Yeah.
Parisian
Yes, the
musicians,
podiums, yeah.
and
Show you pictures.
they did an absolutely beautiful job.
I know.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
My granddaughter, Amy, from New York, would call her mothers, "Don't forget to do this. Don't forget."
Yeah.
But that's
So
her
good.
job, where she's supposed to organize parties for people to come and listen to what the business is about. And
Right.
so-
So you had a professional do it for
Exactly.
you, although be
It
it
was-
granddaughter.
yeah. It was such a fun party. It was just lovely.
It was unbelievable. And I had no idea.
Yeah, they didn't tell
No,
Edie
they
what they were
told me
doing.
we're going to a restaurant.
Yeah.
So I thought, yeah, okay, we go to a restaurant. Well, and
But
I
you
knew
did
there
go to
were
a
many people invited.
Yeah.
Because I gave all the list of everybody I
Yeah.
wanted.
Right.
90 people.
Oh, wow. That was a party.
It
and
was.
it should be.
It
100
was.
years, that should be.
It was
But
a
then
celebration.
The week after that, we had a party here.
Yeah.
At the
Another
clubhouse.
a community
Wonderful.
party. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
great.
Yeah.
Couldn't invite more.
Yeah. And Edie, you also have a very doting son-in-law. He's wonderful. He
Oh,
brings you
yes.
flowers and
Every
yeah.
opportunity, he comes with a big bouquet, not a little one, big bouquet.
Oh,
Yeah.
For everything.
that's so good. You're a blessed lady.
Yeah.
But tell me, through all these blessings of your life, what would you give as advice to a young person today?
Okay, a young person, and I've done that. Be honest. Take care of your body, of yourself. Eat right. Don't overdo it. Don't smoke, and be happy. Try to see people and smile at them. Don't just look at them and wait for them to talk to you. Talk to them and accept everybody except people you know are against Jewish people.
Yeah.
Be very
Everybody-
careful
Yes.
if
Beware of bigots.
you are.
Beware of bigots is what you're saying. Aren't you? Yeah.
Otherwise, just love people. And if you ask my daughter, she says, everybody in the park here seem to like me.
They love you. They don't just like you; they love you. all her neighbors love her because she does what she's talking about. She's just friendly to everyone. She smiles. She shares her joy. She doesn't.
A life,
Yeah,
yes.
she doesn't share the hard times.
Yes.
She shares the
No, I
joy,
don't.
the joy with people.
What I told you today, I don't really talk about the bad times.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I do, because children should learn to know what happened.
Yeah, you do talk about the
Holocaust.
perils of war. Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't use bad words.
Mhm.
I've been invited to talk at the university twice, once on Zoom and once to go there.
Yeah.
And they were young people, and I hesitated to, talk about Holocaust and all that. But there
some
were
people-
professors
yeah.
there too.
that some people don't believe it happened. So they need to hear from people like
Yeah,
you.
but
Who
they won't.
actually experienced.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Of course, I didn't suffer from that.
No,
But
luckily.
I have to show you a picture of my cousin who had just gotten married. She was in the street with her brother, walking. They hadn't thought, they hadn't gone away. They were in the town where they lived, Strasbourg, which is at the frontier, that's where I was born. And a Nazi came up and said, "Show me your papers." She showed papers, and he didn't like what he saw. The brother was okay, but he says, "Come with me." And we never saw her. She was taken, and we know she was at the Holocaust because the woman who made my wedding dress was a survivor, and she lived in Paris with her husband. They were able to leave the camps at the time the Americans arrived, and she lived in Paris, very poor. And my mother, to help, would say to all her friends, she says, "Why don't you have a dress made by this lady so she gets some money?"
Mhm.
And all my mother's dresses, when she died, were made by her.
Ah.
So she said
Yeah.
that she knew my cousin. She was there at the same time.
Really, yeah. Yes, terrible, terrible time. And like I say, you were so lucky to escape.
Can I ask you one other question about your longevity? You talked about eating well, taking care of yourself.
Yes.
And I see you all the time walking. You're a power walker.
Yes.
And you just started using a walker 2 years ago at 98.
Yes.
And man, you use that like it's a motor scooter, and you just
I do on purpose, because I start exercise early in the morning when I wake up. The first thing I do is exercise in bed, and for 20 minutes, about 20 minutes. And then after that, I get up and I walk on purpose, fast, because it's exercise. And I want to be able to keep going as much as I can.
You're doing so good.
I
It's amazing.
hurt at night. My legs,
Sometimes, yeah.
the legs hurt. So
What else? How about sleep? What do you say about sleep and stress? I think people should. Do you get enough sleep? You look very rested.
because I take a nap every day.
Oh.
And if I don't have anything in the morning, I stay in bed till 8. So I have about 4 hours of sleep, because the last time I get up is 4 o'clock, usually.
So, well, it's marvelous to speak with you and hear
Yes.
your stories. I
It
mean,
is.
talk about a life well lived, and still is.
Yes.
Great parties. I mean,
Yes.
lucky lady.
I am a very lucky person. I have to say it.
Yes.
Okay, Edith.
You are.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
It's been a
thank you.
real joy.
You're welcome.
and a
Yeah.
pleasure.
Many of the people who were 85, I'm sorry,
Yes.
45, the war was over, and my father, who hadn't found a very interesting job in Algiers, went back to Paris and opened up his own business of metal and iron and so on, which he knew. That was his business before the war, and he knew very well with my brother.
Yeah.
And when the war broke out, my father was smart. He said, "Let's get out of Paris. Paris is going to be a center of everything.
Right.
So we got in the car and we went north because he felt that England is here and Germans are over there.
Yeah.
Let's get close to England. They are our friends. So we went to a little village there, rented another little house, which was cute. And we stayed about 2 or 3 months in that until we saw that the Nazis started coming in. And then my father again said, "Oh, we have to leave. They're going to come," and they're going. Indeed, you know what happened in Normandy, and so we were close to Normandy there. So again, we take the car, we go down south by little by little. So we were in that little house, which was beautiful, and we brought our furniture in the background of the house. There was place for our furniture, and we thought when we come back we'll find everything. The people who owned the house were very good people, and we didn't come back for 5 years.
Right.
And they thought we had died. They thought we had gone to Auschwitz. They didn't know we went to Algiers. And so we came back, and they gave us back what we wanted, or we left things with them. But we found something. When my parents went back to that little house after the war, they found a lot of things. And one thing they found, the people had kept, they were such good people, you know. They kept things in case we came back.
Yeah.
And they found this written by German soldiers that lived in the house. They had made their headquarters. They had made their headquarters in that house because it was a cute little house. Headquarters. And when they saw that it was a Jewish family, they wrote terrible things in this book. It's all in German, and where's the paper? And I could read to you part of
absolutely, yes.
What they wrote. That was so.
Let me just explain to the listeners a moment that we have this leather-bound book in front of us that Edie has showed us, and this is the book she's referring to that has all this writing and history in it from the occupation of the Germans at the time in France. Now, thank you. Please read us what that says.
So, when they found out that it was a Jewish family, they wrote things on the walls, you know, and you know, Jewish people, the men have a shawl that they put on when they pray, and they wrote bad things there, and among other things, all Jews were forced to leave Germany. By the first and family names of this book, I recognize that you are a Jewish family. Therefore, no consideration. All wars are caused by Jews, either by greed or because of bargain advantage to create unrest in the world.
My goodness sake.
We hope that the Oriental race will disappear from the surface of the earth.
Oh my goodness.
So peace can finally return to the world. They wrote that.
Wrote it down.
They wrote that, and I couldn't read. I can read some German, but that was too bad. But so I had somebody translate
left it in
it
that
for
book
me.
there, and the people held on to that book and returned it to you, not knowing. Well, did they know what they'd written in it?
I suppose they could read this, but it was in English. No, they could not read this. This I had translated in America when I got this in America.
Yeah,
I did it.
So they wouldn't have known.
But I don't think they knew it was that bad because they didn't know German. I'm sure. So.
No.
Yeah, that's
the thing.
Pretty intense.
It's
hatred.
Yes.
Yeah, we wanted to put this book in a museum.
Yes.
But the family said, no, let's keep that for the grandchildren. So, and one day
maybe one day, once the grandchildren have learned it.
But one day they can read it.
Yeah, exactly.
When I'm gone and when my daughter is gone, they'll find all this. My granddaughter is she will know everything.
Yeah.
You know her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, she's very bright.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay. So we've heard in the story before, of course, you met your husband and you came to America. When you were coming into America, it was by boat.
yes, by a big
Into
ship.
New York?
Into New York.
Into New York. So the Statue of Liberty was there? So
for
how
us-
did you feel when you saw
Oh,
the Statue of
The
Liberty?
first thing we saw was the Statue of Liberty, and our hearts were
I bet.
beats. Yes, and all the people on the ship were also refugees.
Yeah.
But we didn't come with, like so many people together. We came, we were on the ship traveling like anybody would travel on a ship. It wasn't something like, oh, we have to keep going. Oh,
Right.
No, but the Statue of Liberty is so beautiful.
What a sign of hope, right?
And
What a
not
sign
only
of hope.
that, when I arrived in New York, I went up the steps inside of the statue
Uh-oh.
all the way to the,
The
dome.
exactly,
Yeah, yeah.
yes,
Was
all
there-
the way.
Oh.
We had a friend in New York, an old friend of my mother, who lived there now and had an apartment and let us stay there
Yeah.
for 3 days
Yeah.
until
So you were able to go back to the Statue of Liberty and really look at it
he
hard.
took us. He
Yeah.
took me. He said my mother was not feeling so good, but he took me, and we went up there, and
Yeah.
really it was
Must have
something
been
very special.
Amazing for you at that point.
Yes,
Amazing.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for that description.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Oh yes. So the other thing was, it's kind of out of context now talking here, but we can put it back in context. The apartment that you had lived in, you couldn't see it anymore.
No,
What had
because
happened to
we
it?
had rented. It was a
Okay.
rented apartment.
Oh, it was a rented apartment,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Okay.
No, that
Yeah.
was finished
It was
for
finished,
us.
okay.
We got another one.
Yeah, yeah.
What we got is that it was hard to find a place.
Yeah.
Because it was the end of the war, everybody was coming back. And we had an uncle. Mother had, no, it's my father, had an uncle who was a tailor and lived in a nice, decent apartment with several rooms. And he said, take that apartment and rent a place, a room or two for me not far from you, because he was elderly, very elderly. So, so we stayed there.
Ah, right. Okay.
And then my fiancé was writing every day and telling us, I'm preparing papers for you to come and so on.
Yeah. Yeah.
It took 7 months for us to go back to come to Algiers.
Yeah. To America.
I'm sorry, to America.
Yeah. Yeah.
What has allowed you to stay so youthful?
Pardon me?
What has allowed
27 years. And that, I think, made me strong also. That
Yeah.
I felt I had done something in life.
Right. Right.
so adversity and accomplishment?
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why. I like to laugh. I like to talk to people.
Yeah.
And so I think that's good too for your health.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been proven
Yes.
that if you stay sociable, you're likely to stay.
I'm very
much more,
sociable.
Yes. That
She
you're likely
is.
to stay more
Everyone
healthy.
loves Edith.